In a low stance defensively, matched up with Mitchell. Fires up a three. Kelsey Mitchell!
The Fever's game against the Sun was more than just a win. It was a defining fork-in-the-road moment. In a season marked by setback after setback, this matchup carried a different kind of weight. The Fever were still deep in the playoff hunt, but back-to-back losses to the Wings and Mystics, two teams ranked below them in the standings, had erased their margin for error. And as the first half unfolded, it seemed as though the story had already been written.
So it was over. The season was done.
The offense stalled. Connecticut pushed the lead higher and higher, and the scoreboard told a cruel truth: Indiana looked cooked. The fans at home felt it, and the players on the bench wore it with every miss, every turnover. Even with 9 games still left after this one, it felt as if the season was slipping away in real time. Step-back three-pointer short. Mitchell now 0-for-4. Run out. Rivers explodes. But basketball has a funny way of turning despair into drama. And on this day, the Fever, and Kelsey Mitchell in particular, delivered a comeback for the record books. A month from now, we might look back at this as the single most important half of the Fever's season. And for Caitlin Clark, it could mark a true turning point. Now, before I get into what happened, I have to play this famous clip to set the stage.
This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win.
This legendary Herm-Edwards line has lived on for decades. You play to win the game. It's simple, but it cuts deep. No excuses. No matter the score, no matter the injuries, no matter how bad it looks, it's about winning. You show up, you fight, and I bring this up because in this game the Fever had every reason to finally throw in the towel. Once again, it felt like someone out there had a voodoo doll with Indiana's name on it. Another key injury, this time to Sophie Cunningham. Mid-game, she went down in obvious pain. She stayed on the floor for several moments before being helped off with assistance from trainers. She couldn't put full weight on her leg, and the look on her face told the story. This wasn't a bump or a bruise, this was serious. The timing couldn't have been worse. Already without Caitlin Clark, already without Sydney Coulson, already without Ari McDonald, and now Sophie, one of their emotional leaders and floor spacers, was sidelined. You could feel the frustration boiling over. This wasn't just bad luck anymore, it felt like a cruel pattern. The kind of season where every time momentum builds, something else gets ripped away, and Sophie's family had finally had enough. They went straight to social media, blasting the WNBA for poor officiating and a lack of player protection.
We got Sophie's sister Lindsay and her mom Paula. At WNBA, maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game, protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie Cunningham. And Sophie's mother, Paula. Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing mean and plays out of control.
And for a team that had already lost Sydney Coulson, Ari McDonald, and of course Caitlin Clark, this felt like the last straw. The Fever were down by 21 in what was supposed to be a must-win game against the worst team in the league. Nothing was working. The offense was lifeless, the defense looked rattled, and the energy on the bench was flat. You could almost feel it through the screen. Fever Nation and the team itself seemed ready to pack it in.
One of your starters goes down, one of your leaders goes down. And after that, it did feel like the morale of the team was down for the first half, and they went into halftime being down 20 points. And I thought, I was on live, you guys heard it from me, I was like, okay, this game's done. Like, they just can't get out of it. The morale of the team is done. Seeing Sophie go down, like, maybe this team just doesn't have any fight left in them. And I was actually ready to give them a pass as well. I was like, you know what? It's been a hard season. And at some point you might just have to throw in the towel and be like, you know what? We will get after it next season. It is what it is.
It was as if the season had already died, and everyone had quietly moved into the acceptance phase of the grieving process. A write-off. 9 games still remained on the schedule, yet hope already felt gone, but then the Fever came alive. It didn't start with fireworks, it began quietly, almost like a flicker in the dark. A Kelsey Mitchell free throw. Then a floater. Then a 3-low stance defensively matched up with Mitchell. She fires from deep. Kelsey Mitchell, suddenly the body language shifted. The same shots that clanged off the rim in the first half started to fall. By the 5:37 mark, that 21-point hole had been chipped down to 14. By the end of the third quarter, the deficit was just 11. And for the first time all night, the building started to buzz. You could feel the momentum tilting, Boston backing down Hartley, Aaliyah Boston with excellent post position. The Suns still led, but the Fever had cracked the door open and Kelsey Mitchell was about to kick it wide open.
Essentially, I thought, well, I wasted my day watching this game and going live for it. Then cue the end of the third quarter. The momentum shifted and the Fever started chipping away at this enormous lead that the Connecticut Sun had on them. For the majority of the game, I would say that the lead was around 15, 16 points, and they got it down to 8 points, and Kelsey Mitchell started heating up.
With the season on the line, Kelsey Mitchell caught fire. At the 8:38 mark, Mitchell drilled a 3. Next possession, she attacked the rim and knocked down free throws. Suddenly, the Suns' double-digit lead was evaporating. Then, like a spark spreading, Lexie Hull joined the party. Wide open in the corner, she let it fly and hit. After weeks of brutal shooting struggles, she picked the perfect moment to deliver. All at once, the Fever were alive, Howard assertive. 2 fouls, the crowd was roaring. The bench was on its feet. Every possession mattered now. Odyssey Sims turned into a one-woman wrecking ball, fearlessly driving the lane, getting to the line, piling up 9 free throws on sheer aggression. Brianna Turner, who'd barely been in the rotation, checked in and gave defensive minutes built on pure grit, finishing a +10 on the floor despite not scoring a single point. By the final minute of regulation, Kelsey Mitchell had dragged Indiana all the way back. The scoreboard, 84-84. Tie game. The impossible was now reality. Overtime. Stephanie White fist-pumped on the sideline. The Fever bench roared like the game had already been won. The comeback was real, and overtime it belonged to Indiana. 20 seconds in, Kelsey Mitchell sliced to the rim for a layup. A minute later, a 3. Next trip down, another one. Back-to-back daggers from deep. Mitchell wasn't just hot, she was volcanic. The Sun were rattled. The same shots they buried in the first half suddenly rimmed out. Tight shoulders. Hesitant passes. Meanwhile, Indiana smelled blood. Then came the moment. Brianna Turner drove hard to the rim, drew the defense, and kicked it to the corner. Lexie Hull calmly rose, released, and buried it. Swish. Dagger. Fever up for good. Final score, 99-93. The largest comeback in franchise history.
As a matter of fact, this was the largest comeback in Indiana Fever franchise history. And it was funny because there were so many people cheering in Connecticut for the Indiana Fever when all this was happening. There was actually just so many Fever fans in Connecticut. As a matter of fact, when Marina Mabrey went on the court in the beginning of the game, they booed her. Imagine getting booed in your own arena.
Yes, this was against the worst team in the league. Yes, it was a team Indiana absolutely had to beat. But the way they won, that's what made it unforgettable. Overcoming yet another key injury. Digging out of a 21-point crater. Doing it with a home crowd that traveled and roared louder than the Sun's own fans. This wasn't just a win. It was survival. It was belief. It was special. And it was a true gutsy team effort. Kelsey Mitchell, 38 points, 34 of them in the second half. An absolute masterpiece. She started with just 4 points in the first half, then single-handedly rewrote the script. That's the definition of refusing to quit. Lexie Hull, 8 points, 7 rebounds, and the clutch threes that snapped her slump at the perfect time. Every hustle play mattered, and she delivered them all. Odyssey Sims, fearless drives, 9 free throws, relentless pressure. She played like someone who refused to let the season end. Brianna Turner, no box score glory, but the plus-minus doesn't lie. +10 in a game decided by 6 points. She steadied the defense when the Fever needed it most. Aaliyah Boston, 14 points, 13 boards, the anchor in the paint, the rock you build around. This was the kind of win that galvanizes a locker room. The kind of win that can flip a season's momentum. And clearly it did. Because after the game, you didn't just see it in the box score, you felt it in the reactions. Injured teammates were tweeting their support in real time, beaming with pride at what their team had pulled off, and inside the locker room the emotion was overflowing: relief, joy, pride. This wasn't just about a single win. It was about proving to themselves that they could survive the storm and still come out swinging.
I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. Yep. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. Your never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes, and we will never be counted out. Yep. Because that is worth gold. That is worth gold. Kels, goddamn baby. Put us on your back.
Inside the locker room, you could see it on every face. This one mattered. It wasn't just celebration, it was relief. It was pride. It was belief pouring out of a team that had been battered all season long. This game might go down as the most important of the Fever's season. Yes, there are still games left to play, and yes, a lot can happen, good or bad. But we can all agree, losing this one would have been devastating emotionally. Think about it. A third straight loss against the worst team in the league, followed by 3 matchups with the Lynx in the final stretch, plus one of the toughest closing schedules in the WNBA. If they had dropped this game, their season was likely cooked. And everyone felt it.
To see Sophie Cunningham go down with injury amid all the other injuries that the Fever have suffered, it really felt like it was over. I mean, before the game, Stephanie White said she hopes Caitlin Clark is back at some point in the regular season. Then you see Sophie come down and you see them getting blown out by the Sun, and you kind of think, what's the point?
To see Sophie Cunningham go down with an injury on top of all the others the Fever have already suffered, it really felt like the end. Before the game, Stephanie White even said she hoped Caitlin Clark would return at some point in the regular season.
She didn't exactly
but then
give
you
fans
watch Sophie collapse, you see Indiana getting blown out by the Sun, and you can't help but think, what's the point?
Now that I'm watching it, instead of reading what she had to say, I'm still on my theory that I don't believe Caitlin Clark come back. For her to say she's hopeful that she's going to come back, that's the game plan. She didn't seem or look very confident in stating that Caitlin was going to come back. This is a very interesting conversation she's having with reporters today.
Because here's the truth. There's no way the Fever would push Caitlin Clark back onto the floor if they were out of the playoff race. No team risks its franchise player for meaningless games. And before this one even tipped off, when Stephanie White was asked about Caitlin's status, she didn't exactly give fans a reason to feel optimistic. The vibe wasn't she's almost back. It was cautious, hesitant. Like her return was still a big question mark.